I just turned on the recording. So you have two modes, the online mode and the offline mode. Now, the online mode means that you're connected to the network. And this allows you to log in, and it allows you to synchronize the data between the VSDS system and your iPad. And it allows you to do searching for surveys and download the ones you want, and also allows you to upload the surveys from your iPad back to the system. The offline mode allows you to continue to work with the app even if you don't have connectivity. So the app sort of always works in the offline mode, and anytime you create a new survey, it's always being created locally on the iPad. So if you're walking around the plant and you happen to go out of an area that, or into an area that doesn't have Wi-Fi, for example, and you lose the Wi-Fi signal or you switch to airplane mode, it really doesn't matter because you can then still go ahead and use your iPad app to document the survey. When you come back into an area where you have connectivity, then at that point, you'll be able to upload the survey back to the server and do the resynchronizing or search for some additional surveys or whatever you need to do. So here's a screenshot of a survey that's being worked on. And here you can see it looks pretty similar to the main VSDS application, where we have a little toolbar across the top of the different symbols and 4 different pages. So we have annotations and symbols, drawing symbols, just like you have on the main VSDS application. Any user-defined symbols that you've created, they'll be downloaded to the iPad as well when you do the synchronizing process. And you can use either the box style of dose rate or the line style of dose rate. So we support both of those even on the iPad. If you want to add more maps, you can click the Add Map button, and that brings up the map selection dialog box that you're used to seeing with VSDS. Pick the additional map, and it adds it into the system. And again, you can flip back and forth between any number of maps that you want on your iPad. If you want to delete a particular map, there's a delete map button there as well. And you can see this little drop down to the right here. This is analogous to the drop down that we have on the main VSDS application, where you can just switch between one map or another. We didn't implement the tabs like we have in the Windows application because the screen size on an iPad, even an iPad Pro, the big ones, is still smaller than you're used to on a workstation or desktop computer. So we tried to minimize that sort of thing, and that's why we went with a little drop-down box here to allow you to switch to different maps. Then you can see we have the standard collection of tabs for your survey header information and the data for the symbols on the map. And for the survey header, we have the standard tabs that you're used to, the general information, instruments, extended comments, and so on. So here you can see we're creating, we create the survey number locally on the iPad, and then when it uploads to the server, it'll get reassigned a real survey number once it goes up to the server. Title field, date and time, if you're using reactor power, those available. All the fields that you may have configured in the VSDS configuration utility will be present here on the main general information tab. The survey type drop-down list, and if you scroll down here, you'd see additional surveyors and so on. So everything is the same that you're used to seeing on the main Windows application. For the symbols, you can just click and drag them around, and I'll show you this in a little bit with your finger, and you can even resize them. And then up on the menu, the little when you need to work with the server to send data back and forth, simply save your survey, and then click the back button to go back to the home page. And then you'll have this hamburger menu, which gives you the options for creating a survey and searching and uploading surveys and the like. Now, if you want to search for a survey, here's an example of the survey search window. So you would select the survey search from the menu, and then the window would display a search panel with 3 sections to it. The first section we call the general section. So you could search for a particular survey number or one that contains a certain characters of the survey number you're interested with or starts with. You can search for title. You can search for a date and time range, lead surveyor name, or a particular survey type. So when you click standard and you click in here, it'll give you the drop-down list where you can pick the survey type you want to search for. Then you have additional bands here. You can see the map info band and the additional fields band. You can click these bands and they'll open up to give you additional fields that you can search on. So for like the map, you could search for a map name or building location or area name, that sort of thing. And then the additional fields will give you some additional fields that you can search on, other text fields and other parameters like RWP number field, that sort of thing. After you enter the criteria and you click the search button, it'll return a list, like you see here, of the surveys that match that search criteria that you entered. And here you can see those surveys, and 9 surveys were returned, and we've selected 2 of them so far. And you just scroll up and down with your finger. You put a check mark next to the ones that you want to download to the PC, or to the iPad, I should say. So once you have made your selections and you click the download button, it will download those surveys to your iPad. Now, if one or more of the surveys that were returned in this list already are on your iPad, they'll be colored with a gray background. So you'll know that you've already downloaded that survey, so you don't need to download it again. So then you click the download button and it will download the survey or surveys to your iPad. Now, if you want to create a survey based on either the previous survey or a template, it works pretty much the same. It will give you a list of items to select from. So in this case, creating a survey based on a template gives you a list of templates to pick from. You pick the one you want, and you can click the view button if you want, and it'll come up with a preview of what that template looks like, just to verify that that's the one you're interested in. And then when you're ready, you just hit the create button, and it will make a copy of that template and open it up as a new survey that you can start filling out. If you select the option create a survey from an existing survey, it does pretty much the same thing, where it gives you a list of the surveys that you've downloaded, and then you simply select the survey you're interested in using. And if you want to preview that survey, you can preview it by clicking the view button. And then when you're ready, you click the create button, and it will make a copy of that survey and open it up so that you can work with it. Now here we are back on the survey screen again. And here what we've done is we've selected the symbol tab and the camera icon, and we've dropped the camera picture here on the map. And then when you do that, it will pop up the button, a little dialog box that asks if you want to take a picture with the camera or you want to take a picture from the photos library. And then it places the picture on the map, just like you're used to in the main VSDS program. You can drag it around with your finger, and you can resize it, and you can put a border around it and the other things that you're used to doing with the main VSDS program. Now, when you're all done, as I mentioned before, and you can see this in the menu, well, here you can see it in the menu right here, and to upload the surveys, it will show you a list of the surveys that you have available, and then you can upload the surveys back to the server. So I'll do that here in a moment. I just want to run through the final kind of list of main features here of the program. So as I mentioned, it's an iPad-specific app. It's designed to run on the iPads. It works offline or online, so you can use it throughout the plant. It has the same intuitive, easy-to-use interface that the main VSDS program has. It provides for that secure login so that if you're using a shared iPad, that only the people that are authorized VSDS users are able to actually use the application. We have that search utility that allows you to search for and download a previous survey that you can use as a starting point for your current survey. You can create surveys from scratch, where you pick the map and you put the symbols on and work with it that way. Or you can use a previous survey or a template. And as I showed a minute ago, you can take pictures with the iPad and overlay them on the survey. It also works with iPad and iPad Pro. Now, I'm going to see if I can do this. And let's see. Now, can you still hear me?
Hello? Yeah.
You still hear me? Okay. Okay. I'm switching computers, so I'm going to use a different computer to do the presentation here just for a moment. So hang on. Let's see. Okay, it looks like you're seeing the iPad, that's good. All right, so what you're seeing now is like a home screen here, and here you can see a little menu. So if I wanted to create a survey from a template or an existing survey, let's try an existing survey here, and it comes up with a list of the surveys that are previously downloaded. So if I click this radio button next to this one, and I click the create button, it should create me a survey based on that previous survey that was downloaded. So it's done that. You can see it's asking me to verify a few things as I'm going through here. Okay. So now I'm going to go back, and I want to do a little survey search here. So here's the survey search panel that I showed you before, and there's the general page. And if I click here, I can then switch and pull surveys with a particular map. So let's say I want to, let's see, Aux Building 100 backwash tank. Okay. Then there's some additional fields that I talked about earlier. So if you wanted to pull a list of surveys for just a particular RWP number, for example, or task. So now I'm doing a search. Let's go back to my database there, and there's found 12 surveys. So I say, well, those two look pretty good, so I'm going to download those surveys. So it just downloaded those surveys, and if I come back here now and I want to create a new survey from existing survey, now you can see I have 3 surveys to pick from that I can use. So that's how that works, pretty simple. Now these two, this is the list of surveys that I have available. And you'll notice there's a little checkbox next to each one. And the checkbox is there. So if I want to upload a survey, you see if I check the checkbox, up on the upper right corner here, well, yeah, here we go. And I don't know if you can see that or not. In the upper right corner is an upload button. So you just click upload and it'll upload that survey back to the server. Now, if I open this one back up again, and let's go over here to the symbols and put a picture on there. And here it says I can either pick from the gallery or my camera. And let's do the camera. Let's say access the camera here. Let's see. Oops. This is going to be a little tricky. See if I can take sort of a lousy picture here. There we go. Okay, so we're going to use that photo. And just took that photo and put it here. And then you can see how I can change the size of it, move it around, put it wherever I want. So now I have a picture attached to my survey. And when you click on the symbols, they then display, so you can put the values in and update the data on the screen. So it's really pretty simple to use the whole thing. Let's save it. And then, as I mentioned, the last step here in the process would be to simply upload the survey or surveys that you've completed. And the reason we want to do that is you need to put them back up in the main database, and then typically you would use the remainder of the tools available on the main VSDS application for review and approval and like generating a PDF and sending that off document archives and that sort of thing. So that's pretty much a good overview of the VSDS iPad app. Now I'll open it up for questions if anyone has any. Anybody have any questions?
Hey, Jim, this is Jim Skinner.
Hey, Jim Skinner.
Hey, okay, so I have a couple of questions. You can just tell me to hush if I'm asking too many. But the first question is, does the iPad app support having multiple maps on a survey?
Yes, it does.
Could you show us how that looks?
Yeah. Let me just do that here, I think. You see how on the upper right corner there it says backwash tank here in the drop-down box?
Oh, okay, so that drop-down would just be the different tabs for the maps.
That'll list the different maps that you have. You switch back and forth. It'll flip between maps that way.
Okay. When you're downloading surveys and maps on a shared iPad, if you have, say, 5 users that have downloaded, do each of them have their own copy of the data, or is it a common copy?
The downloaded surveys would all be, that's a good question. I think the downloaded surveys are just all there so anybody can use them. They're not specific to a particular user.
Okay. When you're downloading surveys, you were talking about how, like, if you've already downloaded it highlights. Now, are all surveys available for download, like in progress and everything, or is it just approved surveys first?
I believe they're all available because you're the technician, so you can you can download a survey that's in process if you want to use that as your starting point for your next survey.
Okay, so if you've downloaded it, but there's a newer version on the server, is there any indication of that, or is it just say you already downloaded it? Or does it just say you haven't?
You still downloaded it. I don't know that. I'm not sure if it checks to see the last updated date for that any survey that's open. I'll have to double check on that for you.
Okay. That's all I had for the moment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good questions. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Great. Thanks, everybody. Okay. Now what we're going to do
Jim,
is we're going to switch gears. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, Jim?
Yeah.
Can you hear me? This is Marissa. I have a
Hi,
question.
Marissa.
Can you answer the question? Let's see. You talked about reviewing and approving. So once the tech uploads the survey, the supervisors have to review and approve through the PCs, right?
That's correct.
They don't have the ability to review and approve on iPads?
Not yet. No.
Oh, not yet. Okay. And you talked about using
at this point we wanted to get the iPad app out there, and we didn't feel that it was necessary to include the review and approval process, but that'll be coming in the future.
Okay.
Jim, this is Jim again. Have you experienced any issues with scaling or object positioning between the iPad and various monitor resolutions and sizes?
Not really, because all of the objects are stored as a percentage of the height and width of the map. Yeah, so everything is scaled based on a percentage. So they're all floats, so they're pretty, high accuracy percent values, if you follow me.
Okay, all right, that's good. And I know that's something y'all have worked a lot on in the past.
Yeah, definitely.
We're related to that in screen size. When you're positioning your objects on the survey and on the iPad, obviously that's a smaller screen and things. How are you finding it in terms of being able to accurately position your objects where you want them?
That's another good point. You're working with your finger. It's pretty good actually on the iPad to move the symbols around, and sizing is pretty decent because the little sizing handles are fairly good sized. But what we've found in practice is the best thing to do is to put your symbols on there, get them close to where they should be, and then upload your survey, and then you can use your mouse to fine tune, and you've got that little nudge tool and all of that, which you can use if you need to, and you can resize the symbols. You have to be careful about making them too small on the iPad, because then you won't be able to work with them very easily with your finger. So they tend to be a little bigger on the iPad, and it's the upper left corner of the symbol that is recorded. So if you position the upper left corner of the symbol where you want, you can then easily readjust the size of it when you upload it back to the main system and use on your PC. That makes sense.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep. Good question. So, can I answer your question, Marissa? I don't know if you had another part to it.
I have
Jim,
another question. Thank you for it. Oh, go ahead.
Okay, this is Phil Wall. I just had a question. I see like a double-headed arrow on the image you have right by request organization. Is that to like scroll a map across somehow, or what's that for? Look by where it says the RACA posted.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right here, yeah. That actually does, let me see if I can.
I'm just wondering if you had a longer image, it would allow you to scroll across or something?
Well.
Or is that for another map?
The screenshot that is in this PowerPoint, we've actually removed that double-headed arrow, and we're implementing the scalable map functionality in the application. So it would give you scroll bars on the bottom and the right-hand side to be able to like scroll the map around inside the viewport, if you will.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, that makes
little
sense.
Double-headed arrow. What that would allow you to do is to change the size of the little panel on the right-hand side.
Ah, okay.
But we found that we
you.
really didn't need to do that anymore. So good catch there, Phil. Yeah, we didn't need to do that anymore, because now we'll have the scrollable maps. So you'll be able to, if you have a map that you want to zoom in on the map, so to speak, and then move it around on the screen, you'll be able to do that with the scroll bars.
Okay, thank you.
Question. Yep. Okay, Marissa, what's your other question now?
Okay, Jen, I apologize. I joined the webinar a little bit later, in the middle of the presentation. Can you talk about the tech's ability to use that iPad offline and then upload their survey?
Yep. The whole iPad app is really designed to function offline. And every time you're working on a survey, you're actually working on it offline, in other words, locally on the iPad. And the only time you really need to communicate is when you're uploading surveys back to the server, or you're downloading and synchronizing the data, or searching for surveys and downloading them like I just did a few moments ago. So you can always create surveys on the iPad, whether you have connectivity or not, whether you're in airplane mode or not. It really doesn't matter. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, good. Good question, though.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Any other questions? Okay. Let's switch over and talk about the hazard display module. So what I'm going to do is just pause my display for a moment.
Hey, Jim. Jim,
Yep.
I'm sorry, I have one more question.
Sure.
In the iPad app, we're looking at really standard maps. Do you also support one-liners and material release?
We only support the let me think about this. I think it's this. Let me double check. Yeah, right now in this version, it's just the map surveys, and then we'll be adding the other survey formats later.
Okay.
Okay, good question. Thanks. All right, let's see. I'm going to switch to my other PowerPoint here so I get started on that. Now, for you IT folks in the audience, the iPad app does require a REST service component that we provide along with the iPad app. So that does run in IIS on a internal web server at your organization. And the iPad communicates back and forth to the REST service, and that's how it talks. So that's pretty straightforward. Okay, let me switch gears now. And now we're going to talk about the hazard display module. So we developed this module in conjunction with Ontario Power.
Jim,
Yes,
I'm sorry for interrupting. Before you move on, can you answer one question for us? I have Matt, he's our RadCon manager. He has a question.
I was just wondering how do you synchronize the iPad? Do you just plug it into the computer, or how do you upload the surveys? And...
Wi-Fi. You just use Wi-Fi, and what happens is, I mean, you can plug it into the network if you want to, but usually, let me go back here to the other PowerPoint. Here we go.
Well, we don't have Wi-Fi available everywhere. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, you probably do. You have it available in like an office area where your RadCon office area is?
No.
Do you have a network connection available there?
Yes.
You could use that. You can just plug it in with the network cable, work just fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So you'll have to connect to the network somehow, whether it's Wi-Fi or with the standard, cable that comes with the iPad that has a USB on one of it usually. And then what you do is see the download data menu item here. That would do the synchronizing in terms of downloading your maps and templates and other information to the iPad. And then when you're ready to upload the surveys, you would click the upload surveys, and it would give you a list of the surveys that you can pick from, like I showed earlier. And then you just select the ones you want and click OK, and it will upload those surveys back to the server through that network connection.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so now we're going to go over the hazard display module. So this module we built in conjunction with, or at the request of Ontario Power Generation. And I've got a few slides here I'm going to go through and show you a little bit of the system live. The slides are more detailed than in the previous presentation, and we can provide both of these slide presentations to everyone, so that's no problem. But they had some clear objectives. They wanted to be able to display maps from VSDS, display real-time data from area monitors, continuous air monitors, and for them, OPG Tritium monitors, all in real time. They want to be able to display additional VSDS data from official VSDS surveys that were entered through the main VSDS program. They wanted to provide a mechanism where authorized users could log in at a PC or at a large touchscreen monitor and then annotate additional hazards right on the screen. And then even give those people the ability to create a real VSDS survey at the touch of a button from that large screen monitor. We also have capabilities to put hyperlink symbols on the maps, which allow you to link to other things, like you could open up a view of a camera, a live camera feed, for example, in a separate window, or link to a web page in your RP department or somewhere in the site. or open a document or spreadsheet or whatever. So we have all that capability built in. So what I'm going to do is flip past these couple of screens because there's a lot of technical stuff here, and it'd be simpler if I just go right to the main screen and show you what it looks like. So it looks pretty busy on this screen because we have everything being displayed, but you can hide and show whatever you want and even turn certain features on and off. So here we have a map from VSDS, my typical backwash tank map that I use all the time. And we have some symbols here. So here we have an area monitor symbol, a couple of those. We have a continuous air monitor symbol from GEDS and a tritium monitoring symbol. And these are updating, and they'll be updating in real time. So if this is displayed on a large touchscreen monitor, let's say a 40-inch or 50-inch touchscreen monitor, positioned at a particular location on the, at the site, you can log in, select the map, and then display that map, and that'll just stay there, and the data will update over time. It'll just continually update automatically, so you won't have to do anything to refresh it. Automatically refreshes. So in addition to these area monitors and cams, we have some other symbols here, and you can see these little symbols here, like this SM for smear and this air sample triangle and this little box here for dose rate. These are actually data points coming from the VSDS system from surveys that have been saved into the VSDS database. Now you notice there's also a little grid being displayed as an overlay here, and that's just for reference, a visual mainly for presentations like this. So to pull back the VSDS data, what we do is we break the map up into a grid. Then we look back through each grid cell and look for the most recent approved VSDS survey that's been marked to publish to the web viewer. Now those of you that most everybody is using that functionality in your VSDS system, you know that there's a function there, a checkbox on your survey to indicate to publish it to the web viewer. So that when you check that box, it makes that data available to this application as well, just like it makes that survey available to the drill down web viewer, for example. So then what we do is we go back and we find the most recent data point on one of those surveys for each of these quadrants and then recreate it here on this display. In a minute, I'll flip over to the live display, and if I hover over these or click on them, you'll see that I can display additional information for them. Lastly, we have these other little symbols that all have this little heading hazard. These are the manually entered hazard symbols that can be entered by authorized individuals right on the large touchscreen monitor or on a workstation to document additional radiological conditions that they found right in the field while they were doing their work. And they have a little different layout here. You can see they're kind of a group of different symbols. And in a moment, I'm going to show this to you live so you'll see how that all works. So now we've got all these different symbols on here. And if we wanted to, we could actually create a VSDS survey on the fly by pulling this data. Now you notice the things have color to them. So on the left-hand side, you see there's a color legend, and that indicates the color of the action levels in the various symbols like gamma, tritium, contamination, and airborne. And you can see that symbols are color-coded based on the value in them that corresponds to the coloring legend here on the left. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch over to the live application and then show you how this all works here in real time. So here's that same map, and you can scale it to fit your screen. And I was mentioning that I have you have these area monitors here, and if you click on them and click the info, it'll bring up a little dialog that indicates the detailed information about that particular device, so you can see where it's located and that sort of thing. If you click on it again and click history, it'll return some period of time of history, and that's configurable. I have mine set to last 60 minutes of history for that particular device. It works the same for these other devices as well. So the Tritium, you can click here and see the history for the Tritium device and history for the CAM as well. So those are the GEDS symbols. Now the positioning of the symbols on the map currently is being done right in the VSDS application itself. There's a place in VSDS where you can configure the area monitor and CAM symbols right on the map. And then we're just reading that configuration information and then positioning these symbols exactly where they were specified in the VSDS program. Now let's take a look at these VSDS symbols. So this particular symbol is from VSDS, and if you have a mouse and you hold the mouse over, it'll bring up a tooltip, but you can also click on it and click info, and it brings up a dialog box to show you the information about that particular data point. So this was a smear of 500 dBm per 100 square centimeters beta gamma from that particular survey, and the survey was done at this particular date and time and by me, and if it had position information and notes, those would also be displayed here. So this one is from that 2017 survey, and if I click on some of these other ones, you can see this is a 2008 survey, and I got a lot of different survey points here. So there's a 50 millirem per hour contact. Now, this one over here has 3 measurements in it. You can see there's a 10 millirem contact, 6 millirem 30 centimeter, and 2 millirem general area. So these again are VSDS data points. Now these symbols here with the hazard in them are those hazard measurements, and I'll show you in a moment how you can enter them and move them around. Right now we're in the view only mode. So when we click, you'll get a little pop-up menu which allows you to see the data in the symbol. So here's the detailed data for that particular symbol. So the way we've constructed this is we have a little shorthand notation here, and then if you click on it and select info, you'll get more details. So here has a gamma, general area gamma, loose contamination, maslin, airborne particulate, long-lived, iodine, carbon 14, gaseous, and the person that measured it and the date and time it was measured, and some additional comments that were entered for that particular symbol. So you can see, because there's gamma, maslin, loose contamination, and 3 airborne measurements, the symbols are constructed accordingly. So we have a general area, gamma, maslin, and particulate, iodine, and carbon 14 air sample here in the little triangle. Similarly, if we come over to this one and we did the details, we see it has a 1 millirem general gamma, a working distance at 2, and a contact at 3. Okay, now how do we put these things on the program? Well, we need to log in. So we're going to click the login button, and if you're on a touchscreen monitor and you click in this field, it'll bring up a keyboard where you can use the keyboard to put in your information. Or you can type on the keyboard as I'm doing here. Then if I tab to the next field, I can just type in my password. And this is validating against Active Directory. And what's going to happen is it's going to log me in, and you can see it now says log out, and it starts a timer. And the purpose of the timer is if you're using this on a large touchscreen monitor out in the plant and you log in and you add an annotation and you forget to log off, when the timer expires, it'll log you off. So that's what the timer's there for. So now if I want to add a new hazard entry, like right here, I can simply click where I want to place the hazard entry. And then in this case, it's going to give me an option to create a hazard symbol or a hyperlink, and I'll do both of them. So here we'll do the hazard symbol first. And for the hazard symbol, it comes up with a whole list of different data points that you can enter. And this is configurable. We can have other items in here if you'd like, but this is the collection that's being used at OPG. So if I click in the general field, for example, it brings up a little keypad, and then I can use the keypad to put the value in. Then I could tab over if I want, and I could enter an instrument number. And you can make that required or not. It kind of depends on your policies there. So then I put in a general area gamma reading, and then I could put in 100 loose contamination and switch this to a smear, for example. And then I can put some comments in down here and click Save and Close. So here you can see, now you could have validation here to require an instrument ID. I have it turned off at the moment. So now we have the information I need, and I click the OK button, and it just created the symbol here. And then I could just drag the symbol around with my finger or the mouse as I'm doing here. Now, if you want to edit the symbol again, you can just click on it and click Edit, and it'll bring up the edit box, and you can make changes to it and then save the changes. And you can do as many of these as you want. You can put them wherever you want. Now, if we wanted to do another symbol here, let's do a hyperlink symbol. And here, I'm going to put in Google, and then I'm just going to say there's a Google link. So I click OK. And that creates this hyperlink, and I can put it somewhere I want. You can give as many of these as you want. And with these, if you click on them and click Open, it's now going to open a browser and go to Google. So simple as that. Now, I created this symbol, and once I did that, it activated this Create VSDS Survey button. And if I click the Create VSDS Survey button, it's actually going to create me a VSDS survey with these data points on it. So I'm going to have to move this one down here a little bit, and then I'm going to click Create VSDS Survey. So it's going to create the survey, which it did, and it gave it this number 311-5, and that goes away automatically. And then if I come back here to my VSDS application, you notice the last one here was 11-4, and if I refresh the screen, there's my 11-5. And now, if I open that up, there's my my VSDS survey with my various symbols created. So what we did in VSDS was we created these symbols with a little box around them and kind of shaded to give them a little bit of a different look from the standard VSDS symbols that are created on the fly. So if you did that, that symbol looks like so, but the fact that it was created from the hazard display program, we put a border around it. Now that's all configurable. You can turn that off if you don't want that, and you don't have to shade it and all the rest of it. But some folks wanted to have a way to distinguish between the two. So if I click on this symbol, you can see it's got the values in it, instrument number 3 there, and then the symbol has some additional comments to the employees and so on. So each time you click on one of these symbols, it'll give you the information that was entered as a result of being put in originally in the hazard display module. Now, as I've been doing this work here, it's automatically saving the data points. These hazard symbols, for example, are automatically being saved into the database so that if somebody else was to open up this same map on their screen, they would see these symbols that I entered. So the symbols are kind of universal. They automatically propagate to the other displays. So this makes it easy to annotate this map and have the symbols automatically displayed wherever the map happens to be being displayed. And I see a couple of questions popping up here. So maybe at this point, I will unmute. And I see, let's see. Looks like Tom Jones has a question. Is the hazard display system included in the standard VSDS package, or is it an add-on? It is an add-on with an additional license fee and some additional components required to make it operate. Yeah, answer your question, Tom. And are we able to copy and paste the hazard symbols? Oh, that's a good question. We don't have the functionality yet, but that's easy to do. So the you know, like anything, this is a continually evolving product here. So we could easily accommodate that that functionality. Yeah. Any other questions? I do have the everybody unmuted now, so feel free to jump in if you have questions.
Hey Jim, this is Jim. Where is the hazard display data stored?
It's in a couple of tables in the database, the VSDS database typically.
VSDS, okay. Is that a user option, or is that it's just in VSDS? Yes, tables added in there.
Let me think about that. It is a user option. You could store it somewhere else if you'd like to. It's all configurable, but we just found it simpler initially to store it in the same database, you know. But there's really no reason you can't store it somewhere else.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yep. Good question. Yep. Yep. Did I answer your questions, Tom? You're still on? Any other questions? Now we have one other button on the screen there that shows the most recent VSDS survey. So this is optional. You can turn this on and off if you'd like. And what it does is it will go find the most recent approved VSDS survey and display it, display the PDF of it on the screen for you. So here it is. This is just like the VSDS drill down web viewer, where you go to a particular location and you click the button and it brings up the most recent approved survey that's been designated to be shown on the VSDS drill down web viewer. So it just gives you, you know, another option to display the information. Let me just pause this screen for just a moment, and I was going to go back to the PowerPoint here, and yeah, just want to kind of do a little wrap up on the hazard display module. So you should be seeing that now. So we have the ability to select and display any of the maps that are in your VSDS catalog. When you select the map, it will automatically display any area monitors, cams, treating monitors, or other kinds of devices that happen to be configured for that map. That could include other things like noise or heat or vibration, whatever you have configured to work with your GED system. It will display the most recent composite survey data from the VSDS database using that grid structure. And again, that grid, you don't have to have that grid displayed. You can turn it on or off. It's just optional. It's easier to describe how the process works by having it displayed. And you can annotate your maps with these additional hazard entries. You can generate the VSDS survey from the hazard display module. And when you do that, you can designate the status of the survey that's generated over in the VSDS application. So you could generate a survey in VSDS that is just in process, for example. So you're out in the field and you've taken a couple of measurements and you've annotated them on the screen, you save that survey and then you'll see the number. Then you can go back later into VSDS and put more information around it if you want. Or you could set it for ready for review, for example, if you wanted to then put it at that level. And then you have the ability to create those hyperlink symbols and place as many of those as you want anywhere on the map. And they could link to anything like URLs like I did, or files, live camera feed, video clips, documentation, launch another program, whatever. So that's basically an overview of the hazard display system. It works with both VSDS and GEDS. You have to have VSDS in order to use it because it has to pull the maps from somewhere. You could use it without GEDS if you don't have GEDS, or if you have GEDS Lite, that'll work as well. Or you could always add GEDS or GEDS Lite later if you wanted to get hazard display initially to give you that capability of having the annotations and the hyperlinks and being able to display the composite survey data in real time out in the plant for the workers. So thanks very much for attending today. We appreciate it. If you have any questions, feel free to email us. And if you'd like a copy of the PowerPoints and or I have been recording this, so we're going to make the recording available for download as well, if you'd like.
Right, Jim, I did want to add to. Go ahead.
Hey, Jim, this is Chuck Kramer. Are you there?
Yeah, Chuck, how are you?
Hey, I got a question for you. I'm sorry, I got cut off in the question session from the first part and didn't get to answer my question. On the iPad app part, is that included in the VSDS application, or is that separate?
That's separate.
Okay. Is that out now?
It is.
Yes, it is out. I was going to say, if anyone's interested in either of these modules for purchase, just give myself a call, Ralph Servati, or you might even have my email, but I can be reached at 585-314-9753. And my email is rservati@swtechnologies.com. rservati@swtechnologies.com. And like Jim said, we have all the folks on this call who attended, so we'll send out a communications with a link to the recorded session as well. So you'll have my contact information. All right. Any other questions before we close? All right. Well, thanks everyone for attending. Really appreciate your time.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Have a good day.
Bye.